now know the CDC had advanced knowledge of the coronavirus pandemic. We know this because the CDC has job listings on its jobs website at cdc.gov. One job listing calls for public health advisors for the quarantine program to help maintain and monitor quarantine centers in Texas, New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, California, Washington State. Well, you may think, well, that seems like a normal, obvious response to this outbreak. The truth is that those job listings were posted on November 15th of 2019, before anyone knew about the virus other than Communist China. You see, in November of last year, that's when Communist China was covering it up. They were ordering scientists to destroy tissue samples, and they were punishing whistleblowers and even arresting doctors who were trying to spread the word about this exploding pandemic that was out of control in Wuhan, China. As that was happening, the CDC was hiring people to train to run quarantine centers all across the United States, focusing on the cities that we now see being hit hardest. And the special requirements for this job listing by the CDC include knowledge in areas such as applied epidemiology, emergency preparedness and response, and emerging infectious diseases. Now, we shouldn't be surprised that the CDC had advanced knowledge of this, since the CDC also had advanced knowledge of the measles outbreak hysteria in Disneyland, which preceded the introduction of the vaccine mandate law in California known as SB 277. The pharmaceutical industry wrote the law, and they bribed California officials such as State Senator Richard Pan to be ready to introduce it once the media narrative created sufficient mass hysteria after the measles was deliberately released, seeded across Disneyland to infect children. No one died from the measles. There's almost no one who ever dies from the measles. But the media hysteria was coordinated to push for nationwide vaccine mandates. That was the goal of that entire program. So in the last years of the Obama administration, genetically engineered biological weapons that were in the possession of U.S. universities were allowed under Obama to be sold to China. China then released these samples either on purpose or inadvertently. You can choose what version of history you wish to believe. But one way or another, this was all planned. Perhaps the plan was to put this weapon into the hands of the Chinese, knowing that their BSL-4 biohazard labs did not have sufficient protections to stop the release of this bioweapon, given that those same labs had experienced multiple accidental releases of SARS-CoV-1 over the previous decade. So perhaps, this is just a theory, who provided China the engineering technology and the samples so that China could fail to contain it? And the answer to that is the Obama administration and the death science industry that deals in genetically modified weapons and vaccines. They knew that the release of the coronavirus in China would not be able to be contained. They knew that because, well, they helped build it. They knew that the coronavirus had a very high transmissivity rate. In other words, it was highly infectious. When combined with the extremely high international mobility of modern human civilization, they knew it would come to the United States. And they knew that once that happened, they could then funnel billions of dollars into the drug companies and the vaccine industry. And that was the goal from the start, to direct public money into these corporations and to make the CDC the hero of this story. But in order to accomplish that, the CDC had to make sure that the virus spread across America at an unprecedented scale. And how did they accomplish that? They deliberately botched the diagnostic testing kits that they released in early February. By mid-February, it became obvious that the kits did not work. So the CDC managed to delay the necessary surveillance and testing for coronavirus in the United States by nearly 1 month, while other countries were testing, like South Korea, and did a good job of aggressive surveillance, contact tracing, and selective isolation and quarantining of high-risk individuals. The United States was testing no one. This phenomenon became known as "don't test, don't tell," a term that I actually coined in a podcast in February. Don't test, don't tell became the method by which the virus spread across America, positioning the CDC to get emergency funding for the vaccine industry, for the pharmaceutical industry, and for itself. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Signed by the president, large cash infusion into the pharmaceutical industry, and into the coffers of the very same CDC that probably had a hand in engineering this entire outbreak in the first place, just like they did with measles in California. Now that doesn't mean this pandemic isn't real. People are dying all over the world right now, and millions will likely die before humanity gets a grip on this. This could lead to the fall of finance as we currently recognize banking institutions today. This could lead to economic collapse. It could lead to failed nation states. And that's why I believe that the globalists behind this have truly gone too far. I think even they did not know what this was about to unleash. When they tried the measles scare in Disneyland, they told themselves it wasn't powerful enough, it didn't have enough deaths. And they use deaths, especially deaths of children, to get what they want, whether it's gun control or to try to censor conservatives. They knew that they needed a large number of deaths in order to finally push a vaccine mandate. And so they went to the most aggressive biological weapon system that they could dredge up out of the death science freezers of the BSL-4 laboratories and universities, where they found this coronavirus, a combination of MERS, SARS, and HIV, with multiple receptor sites, rapid mutation, natural selection in the world of virology, sure to hit humanity with multiple waves, with different mutations, almost impossible to stop because of its long asymptomatic incubation period, during which carriers are highly infectious to others. This was the weapon that they chose because they wanted more money for the vaccine industry. Greed is what brought us the coronavirus. This did not come from the world of random mutations in nature or a seafood market in Wuhan. This came from the dark, twisted minds of the vaccine industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the genetic engineering, death science industry, and the globalists who have long wanted to exterminate most of the human population. There is no amount of suffering and death that is too much for them to witness as long as they gain profits and power. They are the vaccine industry. They are the pharmaceutical industry. And you notice that no one in Washington, D.C., not even the president, is telling people, hey, right now would be a great time to take some vitamin C, to grow a home garden. Now would be a great time to stop eating junk food, to improve your healthy habits, maybe even take some antiviral herbs that have a broad spectrum of efficacy, that are safe and affordable and readily available to the American public. That message has been silenced because the only message you'll hear now is, Big Pharma, please save us. Oh, vaccine, please save us. Oh, CDC, please come save us. And the advisors to President Trump, like Dr. Fauci, are the very same people who have funneled hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars into the death science industry that created these monstrous, deadly biological weapon strains that are now threatening the very existence of human civilization as we know it today. The world, in fact, has reached a breaking point of greed, where greed drives everything. Greed and destruction have driven this agenda from the very start. And there's nothing they won't do to make sure they get more money while more people die. In fact, the mass death, fear, terror, media hysteria is all part of their agenda to take more money from the world and leave you dead in the process. That is the vaccine industry. That is the CDC. And that is why they are the enemy of humanity. And that's why they must be.
Hi, Senator Scott Jensen. I represent Carver County. This is one of the most important videos I've made, and one of the hardest. Frankly, it's been a very difficult decision to make whether I even wanted to do it. Less than a week ago, I was notified by the Board of Medical Practice in Minnesota that I was being investigated because of public statements I had made. They listed two allegations. They said I've been spreading misinformation in regards to the completion of death certificates on a news program, which happened to take place on April 7th. And you could find that one. It was with Chris Berg if you wanted to. And the other allegation was that I provided reckless advice in my willingness to compare COVID-19 and the flu. When I got this letter, I was ticked. And quite frankly, I leaned into the comfort and wisdom of my family to help them, let them walk me and talk me off the cliff. But doggone it, if this can happen to me, my view is it could happen to anybody. I mean, I've been a family doctor for 40 years. I work hard. I love my patients. I do house calls. I've been medical director. I've helped staff physicians in hospitals to help make things work better. I've been in the Senate for 4 years and I've learned a lot. I've never had anything like this happen. Shoot 'em out. 5 years ago, I was named the Minnesota Family Doctor of the Year in Minnesota. And I get this because a couple people complained, and I don't get to know who those people are. I don't know if they're routinely in a political camp, if they're activists. I've gone online and looked at what it takes to complete a complaint that the Board of Medical Practice has to follow up on. It's a one-page deal. You can say what you want. You could be a huge donor for the other party, and I wouldn't get to know it. I wouldn't get to know you live in my district. I don't get to know anything. I checked. So, here I am. I've spent the better part of the last 6 days preparing a response. I understand how important the work is that the Board of Medical Practice does. I mean, physicians do screw up. Two of the big areas where physicians mess up is inappropriate sexual behavior, inappropriate self-medicating, certainly with opiates. But this is an odd position for me to be in, and I am just stunned. But I should have seen it coming, because I saw the threats on social media. I've seen them for the last 2 or 3 months. I've seen them come from physicians. I've seen them come from people in all walks of life. They didn't agree with me. They didn't like that I was trying to provide some context for the flu, for COVID-19. We've had some 35,000, 40,000 cases of COVID-19 in Minnesota thus far. According to the Department of Health people, that might translate into 10 times that many. And if it does translate into 10 times that many, that's 350,000 cases. But in 2018, we had more than 500,000 Minnesotans with the flu. When I say that, am I recklessly giving you advice regarding COVID-19 and the flu? Dr. Anthony Fauci has come out, compared them all the time. Dr. Mike Osterholm has. In terms of the death certificates, on April 3rd, I got an email from the Department of Health that said very clearly that we should report COVID-19 on death certificates if it is assumed to have caused or contributed. Well, that's not how we do death certificates. The official ICD-10 coding for April 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2020, during the time frame in question, says this: if the provider documents suspected, possible, probable, or inconclusive COVID-19, do not assign U07.1, which is COVID-19 disease. It says, assign a code explaining the reason for the encounter, such as fever, or cough, or shortness of breath. That's what the official instructions say. So, I get this on April 3rd. I end up inadvertently, sort of accidentally, running it up the flagpole with Chris Berg on April 7th. And what happens? The Department of Health, a few days later, comes out with a clarification. And then a few weeks later, they come out with another clarification. And I appreciate it. Fact of the matter is, I'm proud of the Department of Health in Minnesota for saying we are not going to list non-confirmed cases as deaths in Minnesota. We are going to put an asterisk by them, and we'll follow up on those later. But that's not what Pennsylvania was doing. That's why they had to subtract 200 patients from their COVID-19 death count. Colorado did the same thing. And New York went the other direction. New York said, we're having more deaths in a certain period than we normally have, so those deaths must be COVID-19. We just didn't pick them up. So never mind the testing. We're adding 3,700 to our total, and well, that does increase our total by 50%. So I'm in a position where I have to explain that I wasn't spreading misinformation. And I'm not being reckless when I talk about COVID-19 and the influence of both being single-stranded RNA viruses that are respiratory in nature with similar symptoms and can be spread through particulate matter and aerosol transmission. I've got an 8-page document that I put together for the Board of Medical Practice, and let me be clear. They do important work and I'm going to fully cooperate with them. I also have some 70 pages of attachments. And in the attachments, I've got the Pennsylvania Department of Health slashing their numbers by 201. I've got the Department of Health in Illinois, where one of the directors says that just because we put COVID-19 down on the death certificate as cause of death, that doesn't mean the patient died of COVID-19. She said that. Dr. Fauci, when he talks about influenza, he was the lead article in this New England Journal article, and he said this: if one assumes that the number of asymptomatic or minimally symptomatic cases for COVID-19 is several times as high as the number of reported cases, the case fatality rate may be considerably less than 1%. This suggests that the overall clinical consequences of COVID-19 may ultimately be more akin to those of a severe seasonal influenza. That was Dr. Fauci. And, oh, by the way, one of the contributing authors was Dr. Robert Redfield, the head of the CDC. Dr. Ostrom is a well-regarded epidemiologist, and he was saying this in the middle of March. He said, the flu has become a pandemic more than once and it's killed millions of people. It still exists today. Unfortunately, we now have on our hands something else, but it's caused by coronavirus, which is acting very much like influenza. Folks, do I feel targeted? Yeah, I do. Do I know who my accusers are? No, I don't get to know. Could I be disciplined by the Board of Medical Practice? Well, sure I can. There's 2 allegations they're investigating. If I have been spreading this information, then what about Governor Walz and the Department of Health? Right around March 1st, we had a Department of Health memo that talked about the purpose of, if you will, some of the measures that we'd be taking to dampen, delay, and decrease the peak, to allow the accumulation of PPE and make sure that our hospital capacities weren't being overwhelmed. In that memo, they say what the effective measures are: cover your mouth, don't go out if you have cough or fever, avoid touching your face, your eyes, or mouth, cover your mouth if you cough, wash your hands frequently, minimize outings, socially distance. But what did they say were not effective measures? They said wearing masks is not effective, taking antibiotics is not effective. A month later, Governor Walz comes out, talks about 74,000 Minnesotans dying. Later on, he went back to 29,000, and right around then, I put a different video out saying just the facts. And I said, I'm not buying 74,000 Minnesotans dying, I'm not buying 29,000. And then this one came out a month later, right around May 1st. This is a model that they're using. And it says on here, Minnesota's model projects nearly 1,000 deaths a day in mid-July. Well, folks, that's next week. So far, we have less than, right around 1,500, of which all but 300 of them have occurred in people in long-term care facilities, in large part because the Department of Health participated in decisions that put people with active COVID-19 disease in the nursing homes. And I'm spreading this information. Of course I am. I don't know what to tell you. I just know this is wrong. We're in a bad place. My wife asked me the other day, Scott, why did 911 pull us together as Americans so much? And why is COVID-19 breaking us apart? I think physicians are part to blame. Scientists are. We've become so darn political. Physicians and scientists in the past were supposed to be above the fray. They're not. I have this odd set of hats I'm wearing because I'm the vice chair of the Health and Human Services Committee in the Senate, and I'm involved in policy discussions and involved in bills that deal with providing relief for COVID-19. And on the other hand, I've been a physician in the trenches for 35 years. So I try to connect the dots. I don't try to present myself to be something I'm not. I'm not an epidemiologist, but yes, I've taken epidemiology classes. I'm not an infectious disease doctor, but I take care of infectious disease every day. just want to leave you with a couple of questions you could maybe ask yourself. Do we think it's okay for physicians to certify death certificates that someone died of COVID-19, even if there was never a COVID-19 positive test obtained, even if there was never a COVID-19 test done, even if a COVID-19 test hadn't even been considered? And maybe the worst, even if the family had no clue that the death certificate they received for their loved one was going to say COVID-19. What do we want to be doing there? In Minnesota, I think the Department of Health is taking care of business. Those are important questions. I'm sure there are naysayers out there that think that I'm getting exactly what I deserve. Fine. If it's going to happen to me, I think, frankly, that it could happen to anybody. It feels ugly. It feels like some of the people that disagree with me don't want to have a conversation. I've asked many of you to have conversations and you've not been interested. So, reckless advice regarding comparisons between COVID-19 and the flu. Spreading misinformation because I cried foul when I received a memorandum from the Department of Health on April 3rd, which directed me to a CDC link, which says clearly that you could have a patient suffering from other medical problems, wheelchair bound, severe stroke within the preceding year or two, and no COVID-19 test ever done or ordered. And when that patient dies, it's a COVID-19 death. I cried foul. And I'm grateful that the Department of Health a week later tried to clarify things, and a month later clarified it further. But I'll say it again, the official people who write the coding Bible in this country said, if the provider documents suspected, possible, probable, or inconclusive, do not assign COVID-19. Thanks for listening. We better all stay engaged.